Whatever's on Zoom, it's being broadcast.
Hi, Stu. Hi, Matt. I just wanted to see if it was working. I got Kirk Holmes to send me the link, so at least going forward, at least we can, while they're on their break, we can visit amongst ourselves.
What we can do. Yeah, we can do.
Oh.
But I think he's talking to Stu.
Stu and Matt, if you're ready, we'll have the introduction of the speaker. You're all set?
Yes, I'm all set. How are you guys?
I'm Tom Thomas. Can I introduce you?
Afternoon, fellow Rotarians. It's a pleasure for me to introduce Matt Crystal. Matt is the West Coast basically overseer for Destiny Rescue, which deals with an area of concern that all of us wish didn't exist, and that's child trafficking and sex trafficking. These are hard topics, and they're the topics that we sometimes have a hard time even acknowledging that exist, especially when we look at our own children, we look at our nieces and nephews, and we think of even the words that Jerry Engel gave us earlier for our invocation and the innocence of children, and that would be preyed upon. I'm going to turn the time over to Matt. We're very grateful that he could take the time to address us and share his expertise on this difficult but very important topic. Matt, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me get my screen shared to you guys, and then I will get going on this. Here we go. All right. Do we see that, Stuart? Are we good, or anyone set or free? Okay, perfect. Well, thank you guys again for this opportunity to just meet and connect with you through Zoom. It's definitely a different world that we're living in, but it's an exciting time to just be able to connect and share with you guys about the work of Destiny Rescue. So as was mentioned, my name is Matt Crystal, and I'm the Director of Advancement for really the West Coast for Destiny Rescue. And I love sharing with Rotarians and getting to speak with you guys. I truly do believe it as an honor. And one of the reasons that I find it such an honor to speak with so many Rotarians and the groups that I've been able to share at really actually goes back to a quote of our founder, Tony Curwen. And he made this statement: we only have two choices, to do nothing or do something. And like I said, one of the reasons that I find it an honor to talk with Rotarians is I fully believe you fall into that second category of doing something. And in this last year and a half, I've had a wonderful privilege of really meeting Rotarians across many districts and many different states. In fact, past district governor Mama Lou was one of the huge reasons that I was even able to start speaking to so many Rotarians. And after I was able to see so much good work that Rotary is doing, I ended up actually joining the Greater San Gabriel Valley Rotary Club. So I am now also a Rotarian, just being involved and seeing you guys. So I do mean that when I say it's truly an honor to speak with you guys or with us. Rotary is about taking action. It's about being on the front lines of a fight, and it doesn't matter what that fight is. It could be polio, it could be medical care, education, vocational training, humanitarian issues that are happening around the world, and issues that are close to home. Rotary really is leading that charge for global goodwill and for peace. And this is a peace that I firmly believe, and I believe all of you think is being threatened by the issue of human trafficking. And that is an issue that Destiny Rescue is fully committed to eradicating, to fight against, and bringing it into it. So what exactly does Destiny Rescue do? Well, we're an international faith-based nonprofit that was started in 2001 with the goal to rescue, restore, and reintegrate victims of slavery, to allow them the abuse to be restored, to protect those who are vulnerable, to empower those who are powerless. And ultimately, we want to be a voice for people that don't have a voice, people like Zara. You see, Zara grew up never knowing the loving touch of her mom and her dad. We assume they died at a very young age, but she was actually adopted, if you would say that, by her aunt. And her aunt never treated her as one of her own kids. She was always treated more as a glorified servant, and never really having that love and connection that you would think a family member, an aunt, would have. Now, what ended up happening when Zara turned 12 years old, her aunt found out that she could make a significant amount of money selling Zara to a well-known brothel in their community. So Zara was sold by her aunt to the brothel manager, and over the first 5 or 6 days, nothing happened. The woman allowed her to be there and kind of have a normal few days. And after that, she allowed her eldest son to try to rape Zara. And Zara did everything she could. She fought back and kicked and screamed. And what ended up happening was the brothel manager actually rescued Zara from her son. And over the next 10 months, she treated her like she was a daughter. She protected her. She kept her safe. But the reason this was happening was she was actually injecting her and feeding her with these growth hormones that would cause her 12-year-old body, almost 13-year-old body, to be more what the customers would desire. So when Zara turned 13, instead of having a 13th birthday and being able to celebrate like most teenagers, she was sold for the first time to a customer. And from that point forward, she was sold 10 to 15 times a day. And the first time she was sold, she put up such a fight that the brothel manager beat her horrifically, and it took her multiple days to recover. And after that, she realized that there was no point in fighting, because either the brothel manager or the customer would beat her. And she knew that was not something that she could stand against. So she ended up just having to give in with what was going on. And she described it as a time of sadness and literally no hope in her life, no hope that anything would change, no hope that anything different would come along. She described it as a time that she wanted to commit suicide, because being dead would be better than living in this environment. But that day literally changed, and her life changed when a Destiny Rescue agent came in and was working with the police to do an undercover operation. And they were able to provide Zara her freedom. They were able to not only do that, but they were able to arrest her aunt, arrest the brothel manager, and bring them to justice. So now things look very different for Zara. Zara is a happy and flourishing teenager who's been in the process of healing, and she's doing what she's always wanted to do. She's in school and she's being able to learn. And I wish I could be here before you guys saying that this is a unique story, that this isn't something that happens. But the truth is that this happens to multitudes of children around the world. And Zara's voice is just one of the the many silent voices that are crying out for help, praying that they will be heard. And like I say, I would love for this to be a one-off incident, but we know that it's not, and we know that the impact of what is going on is incredibly large. And we look at three big numbers that Zara's voice and many other kids help make up these numbers and really kind of paint the truth of this picture and the reality of what is going on. And I want to share these numbers with you, but I want to make sure I don't share the numbers lightly, because I recognize that these numbers represent kids, they represent people, they represent daughters and sons and family. It's so much more than the number or the statistic. And the numbers I'm about to share with you are all from the ILO, or the International Labor Organization. We believe they're more conservative, and they're incredibly accurate, as accurate as you can get in this kind of world. But the first number that we look at is that human trafficking is a $150 billion a year industry. It is considered the fastest growing illegal industry in the world. Of that $150 billion, $99 billion of it is linked directly to the commercial sex trade. So basically 2/3 of the money generated is from the sex trafficking industry. Now, I want to kind of try to put that in perspective, because obviously when you start thinking of numbers that big, it's really hard to kind of comprehend and understand what exactly $150 billion looks like. Coke in 2007 made about $35.4 billion. Disney in 2018 made 12.6 billion. And the one that always really blows my mind is if you take the four major sports in the United States, so football, baseball, basketball, and hockey, they combine to make $31 billion a year. So you have to multiply that basically 5 times in order to get what the human trafficking industry generates in a year. So that's 5 times the 4 major sports here in the United States. So it truly is just an absurd amount of money and reach that this industry brings in. The next way is kind of the way that it breaks out. 7 out of every 10 victims are in the Asia Pacific area, so about 73% of it. So that's predominantly where we focus our rescues, is that area, because of just how skewed those numbers are. You can break it down a different way, where it's 93% of trafficking happens in what's considered the undeveloped world, and 7% of trafficking happens in what is considered the developed world. So there's definitely a large skew in where and how it happens. And then the last number is at least 1 million children are trapped in sexual exploitation at any given time around the globe. That number goes up to about 4 million when it's, labor and other areas of trafficking are coming in. And if you bring in all forms, the most recent number that I've seen from the International Labor Organization is it's estimated about 40 million plus people are living in modern day slavery at this time. So there's more slaves now in the planet than there's ever been in history. So those are kind of some of the main numbers that we look at, kind of why we focus, where we focus, and what we look at. And as I mentioned, these, I'm sure you guys have potentially heard different numbers and kind of seen a range in that. And obviously that is because, this is not an industry where there's a database where you can just go to and figure this kind of stuff out. So one thing that we believe is no matter what those numbers are, if those are too low, if those are too high, we know that this issue is not okay. There is no child, there is no adult, there is no human being on any country on this planet that deserves or should have to suffer in this way. So that's why Destiny Rescue, with our many partners across the globe, are doing everything that we can to fight this. And we've been doing that, since I mentioned, since 2001, when Tony Curwen, he's our founder and international president, actually started Destiny Rescue. And the reason he started this is he actually was in Cambodia and Thailand. He always felt like he wanted to do something to help kids. And when he was over there, he experienced someone sharing a story with them where they were offered to purchase a child for a few $100s to have his, basically take possession of this child. And he realized that those were the people that he wanted to help. That was the kids that needed help. So from that vision, we have grown to rescue out of 7 different countries with the goal of getting to 30 countries by 2030. We now have 3 funding and support countries in Australia, New Zealand, and the United States, where we get a lot of support, a lot of our volunteers, a lot of the supplies and everything that we need to do this rescue work and the care, the aftercare and everything from this. So it really has grown a lot, in the past 19 or so years. It's just some of the numbers that have changed in the rescue and quick. Really in 2015, we had 380 rescues. 2016 was 485 rescues. 2017 was 620. As you can see, then 2018 was 1,074. And then 2019, last year, was in fact our biggest rescue ever with 1,426 rescues and lives that have been changed because of this. Now, obviously, this year things are very different. I can kind of get more into that with questions and whatnot later on. But basically, we're at 310 rescues this year because of COVID and shutting down borders. And in Thailand and Cambodia, a lot of the brothels and bars and everything were ordered to close. So there's definitely been a significant change in how we've had to do rescues and what we've done. Earlier this year, we actually were involved in our first cyber rescue of a 2.5, 3-year-old boy who was being sold and abused, and that crossed multiple countries and multiple borders. So because of COVID, there's been a lot of changes and a lot of different things that we've gone into now and had to adjust for. But I want to share just briefly kind of what we normally look like. And that's rescue, restore, and reintegrate the children. Rescue is one of 3 ways. There's covert, raid, and border rescue. So covert is really, we have agents around the globe that pose as customers and will go into some of these brothels, these karaoke bars, these beer gardens, posing as customers, pretending that they want to purchase these kids. And it's also more called like relational rescue, where we either have rescued someone who knows someone or has a friend that we have that trust that we can gain and be able to help get them out of that environment. And it also works really well with our raids that we do. We have MOUs or memorandums of understanding with multiple countries, where we actually work hand in hand with the police or their version of the FBI, the Filipino National, NBI, the National Bureau of Investigation. We work with in Thailand and Cambodia and also in the Dominican Republic with their police and law enforcement to be able to do these raids. And that, again, is more of a sting operation. We're able to arrest the criminals and arrest the traffickers, shut down establishments, bars, brothels, hotels that are being involved with that. So they work very nicely hand in hand. Covert obviously could be happening, or relational rescue can happen all the time, 24/7, and us going out there, while the raids take a lot of planning and can't be happening all the time. So they work very well together. And then the last one is border rescue, which we launched just a couple of years ago in Nepal. That was kind of our trial area, and then we're looking to branch out from there. One of the reasons for that is Nepal is a highly trafficked area. In the sense that they have no paperwork that's required for them to leave in and out of the country. So it's very easy for kids and for people to just disappear. So we the first year we did this, we had about a little over 300 rescues. And then we had 3 stations, and then we went to 7, I think 8 border crossing stations at the beginning of this year. And then COVID hit, and obviously we had to kind of shut down those borders, and all the borders closed. So as those open back up, those will continue to grow. But the way that looks is we actually have an all team of women that work on those borders, and they are given full authority by the Nepalese government to stop and question anyone that looks suspicious and detain them, and kind of have a list of questions and how to kind of flush out what doesn't fit and what doesn't seem right, and then turn it over to law enforcement to handle that. So there's, like I mentioned, there's multiple ways that we do our rescue work. Then of course there's the restoration side, what we have to get these kids out of the environment, but we also have to make sure that they're taken care of. So we have social workers, we have counselors, so we want to make sure that they're mentally, physically, spiritually cared for. We have nurses to help these girls. We want to make sure they're healthy and they're not dealing with a lot of these diseases that they could have, that could hit because of this environment that they've been in. We want to make sure they're educated. So there's a wide range of that restoration side of things. We've actually had a really high success rate with girls that are in our home and going through stuff, with about an 84% success rate of girls not going back into the industry. So we're very excited to be able to have that success rate with some of the homes that we have. And then, as I mentioned, you're going back into their community is the reintegration stage. So we take this very seriously. Obviously, we don't want girls or anyone to become fully dependent on us. We want to train them up and allow them to go back out and live their lives and be able to fill whatever, their dream is for the future. So we've had girls that have come in and learned how to do salon care, hair, makeup, and nails. We've had girls that have gone on to do graphic design. We've had girls that have gone on to, run kids ministries and start salons. And there's a wide range of, what these girls have done. And it's our heart really to just empower them to fulfill what their dream is. And we started with the jewelry program, and girls just made and sold jewelry. And that was a huge blessing to move us forward. And now we've been able to grow into, girls learning to sew and do textiles and work at hotels and do computer training. And it's just really blown up to what the girls have available, and really just showing each of them, they have so much potential, and there's so many dreams that they have that they can fulfill and they can do regardless of the background and what that looks like. And it goes beyond just a girl, but it also into the family and the community. And I'll share a little bit about that in the story of this girl named Bodum in a minute, just to kind of pull all of this together. But there's also a prevention side. We recognize that there's a lot of this trafficking that happens based on a lack of education, on family breakdown, on poverty. And there's a lot of stuff that we are trying to work with, in villages and in these countries, and educate people, even in the US, educate the online and impact that can have with social media and people being trafficked in relationships starting like that. And overseas, there's poverty, there's girls that have to walk miles every day to get clean water in order to bring it back. So we've actually been able to do team trips and put in wells and put in water filters for these villages to have clean water, and really kind of just change that environment that not just the girl is in, but that the family and that the village and everything is in. So really not looking at just the girl, but taking who she is and looking at her family and looking at her community, and how do we have, a full, impact on all of these people, to be able to kind of change that whole entire dynamic. And it's really exciting to see when you get into that holistic form of prevention and whatnot. This is Bodum. So I wanted to just kind of share her story with you, because I really think it helps pull all of the pieces together, and how things happen and the next step. So Bodum grew up in a loving family. She had a mom and a dad who cared about her, who loved her. Her mom always stayed home and took care of the kids, and her dad went to work. And what happened was Bodum's dad grew sick and ended up in the hospital and ran up a $2,200 medical bill, which might not seem like a lot to us, but it's a huge amount of money to them. And her father passed away and left this debt to her family. And at that point, the mother seemed overwhelmed. She didn't know what she could do. She had never had to work to provide for the family. She took care of the kids. And the only job she was able to find was one with picking mangoes, where they paid her about $38 a month. And it did not take her very long to realize that $38 a month, there was no way that she could provide for her family, and at the same time pay off this debt that was growing. So in a moment of weakness and in a moment of despair, she asked Bodum, the eldest daughter, to go into the city to look for work to help provide for this family, because they needed an additional source of income. And at 15, Bodum went into the city to look for work, and it didn't take long for her to be tricked and manipulated into the sex industry and trapped in a brothel. And she said she felt dirty. She said she felt, used, and described it just as a living hell. There was a horrible experience in a place for her to be in. She described it as a place where she couldn't dream, where it was just completely just trapped in that. And in that environment is where one of our rescue agents was able to find her, was able to get her out of that, and able to bring her into one of our homes, where she was able to start getting counseling, where she was able to work with our caseworker, and was able to get the help that she needed and go through some of the training programs. And what I love about the story is it didn't stop with her. We were able to look at her family and look at her mom and realize that there was a lot of just potential and growth in that, and that the family dynamic had fallen, and that her mom was doing her best to try to provide. And we found out that her mom was a very gifted cook, and we were able to provide a microloan, which is something that we're able to do from time to time to people in order for her to purchase a food cart. And she started working the food cart and went from making $38 a month to $220 a month. So almost 6 times, the amount that she was making before. And with Bodum working, she was actually able to then pay off the family debt. They were able to just completely change the entire family and the entire dynamic of that situation that they were in. And Bodum went on to actually work at a kids ministry, and her mom flourished in the food cart. And there was just such a huge change in not just Bodum, but the entire family, and allowing them to grow deeper roots, and allowing them to thrive, and really the entire family be able to dream and see that there was so much more potential and so much could change in the future because of what was going on, and really have a brighter tomorrow. And that's one of the reasons that I just kind of love sharing that story, because it really shows just kind of how a breakdown can happen, and how we have to look at a holistic picture and go beyond. Obviously the girl is so important in helping her, but it's not just getting her out of the environment, but it's providing her with a place to dream. It's providing her with a place to be safe. It's providing her with knowing that she can be empowered to fulfill those dreams, and also reach out to her family and see what that looks like in the community. And it just completely changes, so much of that. So really, Destiny Rescue, our desire is to be on the forefront of this war. Our desire is to fight for the rights and the dignity of these children and their families everywhere. And we not only want to rescue these beautiful, children out of sexual slavery, but we want to help, put them back together. We want to help them with the healing process. We want to, allow and help and see miracles happen. We want to see hearts met, and we want to see, this anger and dissolve, and where love comes back, and where love is able to be, and smiles return to their faces, and really see kids be able to be kids again, and know that they can be unconditionally loved, and know that they can be accepted, know that they can have dreams, and know that they can truly live a life that is free from abuse and mistreatment. And all of that really only happens because of people like you guys, because of organizations like Rotary and our partners, and so many people providing the support and the awareness and sharing, about this issue of human trafficking and what's going on in the world today. So I want to just wrap up really quickly with, just a few ways that you guys can stay involved. One is to stay in the loop. We have a newsletter that you can go online to destinyrescue.org, and we send out information, and you can sign up and just kind of learn about what's going on in that. Another is our team trips, where we actually take people overseas to see some of our work and our homes. And that's had to change because of COVID, and it's exciting to see what that looks like. So if that's something you guys are interested in doing, we have that. One is Rescue Partner, which is it's our monthly donations that go to our greatest need to be able to support these girls, provide their healing and their care and whatnot. Is definitely a need. And one of the big things that Rotary has been able to do in this is we are looking at doing grants, both the district level grants and the global grants. And the San Gabriel Valley, the Greater San Gabriel Valley Club was working on one. We're actually trying to get a motor support for motorcycles that are needed for our rescue agents and some of our staff overseas to be able to move these girls around and provide the healing, and also just the transportation that's needed. So it truly is exciting to see Rotarians and on so many levels, from club to districts and everything, to become involved in it. And it really is changing so much of that. And I want to just end today just saying this quote from Sir Edmund Burke: "It's the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men and women to do nothing." So thank you guys again for not just this opportunity to allow me to speak to you guys on behalf of Destiny Rescue in the fight against human trafficking, but also just thank you guys so much for who you are as Rotarians and what you're doing to impact this world. So this time I can take questions, and also my contact information will be up there if anyone needs it, wants to call, email, or whatnot.
So, God, thank you, Matt. Wow, amazing. I don't know how we're going to figure out alternating questions between our virtual audience and in the room, but Karen Wisenhut did post a question on chat. Karen, do you want to ask it real time, or do you want me to read it? You can unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Matt, I really appreciated you doing the presentation at the Rotary Peace Fellowship last year.
Thank you.
Has a lot of projects been generated from that?
Yeah, there's a lot that we've been working on. There's multiple grants that we're in the process of putting together for this next year. Past District Governor Liu is helping in that, and like I mentioned, the Greater San Gabriel Valley Club has done that. There's been a lot of support just from individual clubs on that. So I mean, it really is like this last year was kind of our first introduction to Rotary. So there's a lot of blue sky on the horizon and a lot of ideas out there just for in the next few years of just partnership ideas and different stuff. So we really are looking forward to, that relationship with Rotary and what's coming. I mean, I know there's a couple different district governors in the next couple of years that want to partner directly with Rotary for their term. Howard Cohen, he's up in 5400, wants to really, highlight us for his term up there. So yeah, it's a lot. It's exciting to see that relationship growing.
So there are no more questions pending here in cyberspace. Maybe there's some live ones there in the room.
Before we do that, I don't know if anybody caught that in Karen's question, but it's like a great Ernest Hemingway novel where you're reading along trying to figure out how all these different themes are ever going to come together. Of course, at the very end, they all get together very nicely. Today, you heard from Kim that we have another peace conference coming up. And in fact, our club was introduced to that and Destiny at the last Rotary District Peace Conference, which was held here in Las Vegas, which is how we became involved, how the 25 Club took on Destiny Rescue as a fundraising project. And so we do have a close relationship with Destiny Rescue, and I would encourage any of you who are able to go to the Peace Conference. You'll find it incredibly inspiring when it's here this fall. And do we have questions either here or on Facebook?
Yeah, I want to acknowledge that we have Renee Gamero and Jen Hunt and Susan Ziober watching us on Facebook Live.
Matt, you talked a lot about young girls. What about boys? I'm sure that they are also involved in being trafficked.
Correct. Yeah. So we say young girls, just historically, it's about 96% of who we rescue are female. And then we redo our numbers on a rolling every 3 years, just so we're not trying to remember different numbers and everyone's saying different things. So based on, some of the rescue reports and what's going on, we do believe that number of males is going to be higher in the next time that we do the numbers. And again, it also depends on the type of human trafficking. Obviously, when it comes to sex trafficking, that number is significantly leaning towards girls. But when it comes to labor and different trafficking, that numbers can get pretty close to even depending on where you are. So yeah, it definitely is an issue that impacts both boys and girls. We were in Cambodia a couple years ago, and there was a beggar ring that we were able to help rescue, and that was a lot of boys that were in that. So it depends on the type of rescue, but like I said, we just usually say girls just because it does, with the focus of our rescue, usually goes very much on the side of the girls needing to be rescued.
Stu, it looks like you have quite a few chats there. Do you want to, are any of them questions that you can read?
We don't have any more questions on this end from anyone else on the Zoom call, but I do have one. Matt, do you have any activities take place here in the U.S.? We know Las Vegas is a hot spot.
Yeah, so here in the United States, we don't actually rescue. We have partnered with the FBI, Homeland Security, and the Blue Campaign. A lot of what we have been able to do here is more on the awareness side, allowing people what to look for. We've done trainings and talks to schools of, online safety, of, Instagram, social media. Even now traffickers are connecting to people through things like Facebook Live and, your Xboxes and your PlayStations and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of here, there is the law enforcement, there is FBI, there is Homeland Security, there are task force in a lot of the major cities that are fighting against this. So we're not set up to rescue here, but it's a lot more of it falls on the awareness side, and also just the training and things to look for, and to see something, say something, and that kind of stuff is really what we've been able to focus on here in the United States.
So I see, I think Tony Kern is monitoring the Facebook chat. So if people have questions, they can put them on Facebook.
A question here.
I have a question for you. You mentioned that sometimes you run undercover rescue operations. Are you able to share the mechanics of how those work?
You cut out on the last part. Sorry, I couldn't hear.
I was asking about undercover rescue operations. Are you able to share with us the mechanics of how such a rescue operation would work?
Yeah. So for example, in the Philippines, in Manila, we are very close with kind of their task force that oversees. We even sit on the board of some of their operations and everything, and some of their government decision making of what that is, because of the impact that we've been able to have there. A lot of the way that works is it is a very tight knit team that works both on our side as well as on their government side or the police side. Usually the way that goes is it is undercover agents that will go into, different red light districts, different areas that are known to have trafficking. And we set up, sting operations. We've set up, we had one that was basically, we had to pretend like we were businessmen from, overseas that were coming in and looking for a party, and we're able to find some pimps to bring in multiple, underage girls for that event. And it's basically you have undercover people, you have undercover camera equipment to record the transactions and record what's going on and being purchased or supposed to be purchased. And once that goes down and it's on footage and everything like that, they're actually able to come in with the police and make arrests and put people in jail and shut down the establishments that are providing it. So in that, a lot of it, especially in the Philippines, you can actually hire a hitman for about $100 US. So there is definitely the danger side on that as well. As we've been expanding in that work, we've gone more into almost like the crime syndicates and that kind of stuff. So the level of risk and the level of protection and what's going on definitely does change with that.
Thank you very much, Matt. If you were here, I would hand you this certificate. For each of our speakers, we make a donation to the USO Community Service Program, Share What You Can program. And so if you'll reach down, I'm virtually handing this to you. There you go.
Oh, thank you guys. That's appreciated. Thank you so much. And then if any of you have any questions or anything like that, I hope, I can get my contact information out there again, or if you're able to get my phone number or email address, please, don't hesitate to reach out or ask any questions.
Thank you again.
Thank you guys.
I've been warned, I'm less than an hour away from Puck Drop, with all the nice things, but let's go. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you. Have a great day.